Each of the founders here was at least one time in life in this position. And I think that you will gain a lot of insights from the next speaker and next keynote about when, why, and how to pivot. That's why I will introduce Zach Coelius, managing partner of Coelius Ventures.
Please give a massive round of applause and welcome our next speaker.
Yeah. Woo!
I really think they need to make the couch with the rockets on the bottom. That'd be really cool to ride and just get on and up you go. So first of all, thank you to our hosts. This is an amazing conference. This is my first time in Riga, my first time in the Baltics, and it's been absolutely spectacular. The hospitality from landing to every moment has been really, really spectacular. So thank you very much for having me. So my name is Zach Coelius. I'm a San Francisco-based investor. 10 years ago, I shifted over to the dark side, and so I've been now investing for a decade, deployed about $100 million into 80 different companies, and then I'm currently running a fund of about $100 million that I write checks all over the world into startups. So I've been doing this game for a long time. I like to joke that I've never had a real job. Before I became a VC, I was an entrepreneur for 5 companies and almost 20 years. So so that was me when I was a kid. I started a company called Trigit in 2005. We were an advertising company, and I started it totally by accident. I had finished grad school, didn't know what to do with my life, and drove my car across the country to San Francisco, slept on my friend's couch, went to Burning Man, just sort of like broke into San Francisco life in 2005. And I started going to conferences with the hope that I could get a job. Nobody likes the person who's at the conference looking for the job because they're always afraid that you're going to badger them all night long. So I started telling people I had an idea to start a company in advertising, in ad tech, which I knew very little about. But the next thing you know, somebody was like, oh, I'll fund that. That's a good idea, and offered to invest in my company. Once again, a reminder that it's better to be lucky than good, because I certainly didn't know what I was doing. But we raised some initial money, we got out the door, and we built a product. And that product sucked. And our market sucked. And we sucked at what we were doing. And so I think the reason why they have me up here at the end of the day on Friday is that many or most or probably all of you will have the experience that at some point in your career, you will build something that sucks. And then the question is what to do next. And so today I'm going to be talking about pivoting, when to pivot, how to pivot, why to pivot, and then I'll share my experience with pivoting Trigit, this company. We ended up pivoting 7 times before we figured it out, when we went from $1 million in revenue to $30 million in revenue in 12 months, and we had $300 million in revenue on the books, so like we found it. And I'll kind of walk you through my experience with Trigit, and then I'll walk you through sort of some lessons that I've had in that process. And then at the end of it, they said I can't offer questions, but if you want to send me any questions over LinkedIn, I'm happy to take them and try to be useful if I can be. So with Trigit, we started the company, we built a product, the product sucked. Customers didn't love it, it wasn't really all that exciting. So we started looking around for what to do next. We built another product, that product sucked. The customers didn't like it. And we looked around again. And then this is in 2007, 2008, right as the financial crisis was occurring, the market was ending, the world was ending, everybody was like, oh my God, this is the end of all things. And we had just raised some more money, so we weren't quite going to go out of business, but we knew we were well and certainly fucked as we stood in that situation. And so we saw the beginning of this thing called real-time bidding. So what real-time bidding is that in online advertising, in the old days, if you wanted to buy ads, you would literally pick up the phone, you'd call up a website, you'd call up the New York Times, you'd call up somebody and be like, hey, I want to buy ads from you. And then they would be like, okay, we'll sell it to you. And it would all be transacted manually over email. Very complicated and very hard to scale and doesn't sound very internet-y to me. And at the time, everyone realized that wasn't very internet-y. And so we invented this protocol called real-time bidding, which enabled computers to buy and sell transactionally from each other without having to have a human in the loop. And so we saw this coming. And at that point, our company was going to go out of business anyway because we had built a bad product and we weren't in a great market. And so we said, okay, let's bet on this crazy future, which is what startups are all about, betting on crazy futures. And we took all of our energy and we poured it into this, and we were right. Real-time bidding went from 33 million impressions a day auctioned off across all of real-time bidding to now there's something like 33 billion impressions a day auctioned off of real-time bidding. And so if you're a startup and you're on that scale, you're going to end up probably in a relatively good place. And it's amazing. When you find a market that's growing that rapidly, the market will pull you into basically where to go and what to build. You don't have to imagine it. You just do what the market's telling you to do. And that lesson for us was profoundly impactful, and it's a lesson that I will always remember. And for every startup that I work with, I'll ask them, is the market pulling you or are you pushing? Because in this case, we were being pulled along like you wouldn't believe. Unfortunately for me, and unfortunately for the company, I was quite young at the time, didn't really know what I was doing, and we got our ass handed to us in that market. Our competitors were older, wiser, smarter, better, and they won, and we very quickly lost. The chief competitor at that time is a company called Trade Desk, now worth, I don't know, probably $50 billion in the public market. The CEO was formerly a peer and is now a billionaire, and I am not a billionaire. But I got that lesson of getting to see what that market looked like, and it was a profoundly exciting experience. As we were kicked out the back of that, we had to then pivot again. And in that experience, I got what will be a lesson that I'll share now, which is that those pivots are all about a series of small but incredibly important steps. Each one you can map and you can think about, and if you don't have it, you should go back to, and now I'll walk through those steps. So the thing about this process, first and foremost, is like anything else in entrepreneurship, it is a skill. This is not something that you can just make up on the spot. It's not something that you can just read about in a book. It's not something you can like listen to me and then go do. It's something that takes experience and practice. And it's incredibly important that as you go through this process, that you understand that there are other people who've gone through it before. And so the entrepreneurs that are in your life, the founders that you know, they've gone through this before, just like anyone else. And if you go and talk to them as you go through this, you're going to find out that they will give you good and useful feedback throughout this, and they can help you. And so my advice to all of you who are going to go through this pivoting process is take advantage of the other entrepreneurs who've done this before, because it is truly it's a painful skill to get, but if you get it, it's very, very powerful. So step one, the secret to this business is about building big outcomes. It is about building companies that are worth billions and tens of billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. And there's a simple lesson that I would like to share here, which is that the internet, it gives you phenomenal scalability. So you can build a company here in Riga that everyone in the world could use tomorrow. You could reach incredible scale as a result of the distribution that the internet provides and that technology provides. That incredible scale is at your disposal, but the competition that happens as a result is that every entrepreneur in every city in the world is trying to do the exact same thing that you're trying to do right now. And so what that means is that unless you find the magic that your customers really want, unless you find the thing that they really care about, nothing will happen. Nothing will work. No scale will materialize. You will not build a rocket. You will end up basically not succeeding. And so the process of building a great company is to search for the thing that causes your rocket to lift off. And until you find that thing, you need to keep searching. And so the pivot is that process. It is the experience of you go when you build something, you take it into market, you talk to your customers, you say to them, hey, do you love this? Is this something that gets you excited? And at some point in that journey, they're going to say, no, I don't care. And so when we were building Trigit, I had that experience over and over and over. So for the first 6 years, we would go to talk to customers, we would pitch them, we'd go all the way through the end of the pitch, it would be an hour into the conversation, and they would be like, yeah, so can you call me back next year? Or they'd be like, well, I don't know. Or they would be like, I'm not sure. And so until you get to the moment where not at the end of that conversation, but at the beginning of that conversation, they're like, hell yeah, I want that. This is really exciting. I need this. Like, keep searching. Because rockets only come from that magic of the customers are into what you are providing. The customers are saying yes. The customers are like, I want this. And until you find that thing, like, just keep searching. And so the way I think about the startup journey is it very much is that adventure. You get whatever friends you can get, you get whatever resources you can muster up, whatever investor capital you can source, and you go into the wilderness and you're searching for the opportunity. You're searching for the gold mine that is startup success, and people are shooting arrows at you, you're running out of food, it's freezing cold, people are quitting. It's a really, really incredibly hard journey, but that exploration, that attempt to find is all about the discovery. It's all about that finding the thing that is magical. So let me give you the example that I always use in my experience, which is that until you can cold call a customer, so someone you don't know, at 9 o'clock at night, on their cell phone, while they're putting their kid to bed, so you imagine interrupting somebody while they're putting their child to bed, describe what you do in one sentence, and instead of them saying, fuck you, why are you calling me? They're actually like, oh, actually, I want that. I'm interested. Let's talk tomorrow. Until your startup value proposition reaches that level of virtual impossibility, you need to keep searching. Because once you do find that, you will find that basically scale, rocket ship success, startup success can materialize very, very rapidly. And so the search for the pivot is that process of searching for, building iterations, MVPs against ideas that you have, taking them to customers and seeing if they hang up on you or seeing if they say yes. A good example of this would be the cold LinkedIn message. So you send a cold LinkedIn message. I'm sure all of us here have done that. 99% of the time, no one ever responds. But when you have a value proposition that people really, really want, they will respond to that. They will get excited about. They will basically answer those things. And so the discovery of the thing that gets people excited is what it's all about. And so for us, in the example of Trigit, we had gone through these years in the wilderness of trying to build products that people wanted, losing, getting our butt kicked by other competitors, not being a great product. And right before Facebook went public, they made the mistake of having not built their ad products particularly well, and they missed their Q4. Zuck went to the Facebook ads team, was like, guys, what are we going to do? We just missed, and like we're in trouble. And they're like, well, here's these 10 ideas. And one of the 10 ideas was to let companies like ours use our technology to buy media on Facebook. And so the ads team came to us, and they were like, this is back when there was like 20 engineers in the whole ads team, very small. And they came to us, and they were like, hey, guys, we're going to let you buy Facebook media. Do you want to do that? And we were like, yeah, fuck yeah, we want to do that. And we were like, at this point, we had enough experience and we had learned the hard way what worked and what didn't work to build a product that the customers really wanted. So I think all of you have gone to a website and you've looked at a pair of shoes and then had ads for those shoes follow you around as you go through the internet. So we were the ones who first brought that to Facebook. Super simple idea, but the customers, they really wanted that. So these same customers that we would basically call on and they'd be like, yeah, no, don't talk to us. Best Buy, Home Depot, Walmart, Booking.com, TripAdvisor. We called those same customers. We're like, guys, we can give you dynamic creative retargeting on Facebook. Period. Stop. That's it. No ands. No others. Dynamic creative retargeting on Facebook. And these guys were like, same in the contract. 5 minutes into the call. So we'd book an hour, and 5 minutes into the call, they'd be like, send me the contract. Can you take a $10 million order immediately? And we were like, whoa. So we went from $1 million in revenue to 30 million in revenue to 300 million in revenue on the books in the space of 24 months. 0, 30, 300. That's what startup success is all about. That's what when you get it right is all about. That's what the search is for. And now, as a VC, and I've invested in companies like Cruise, Mercury, Branchmetrics, HelloSign, companies that have gone, whoo, that's all I care about. That's all the VCs care about. That's all that matters. Everything else is the search for that. Because once you find it, you will literally have it made. So I'll leave you with what Michael Seibel says is the best example of this. Michael Seibel is one of the YC sort of leaders and is a founder of Twitch and really good at this. He says, what you want is your customer's hair to literally be burning. Like, imagine somebody's hair is on fire. It's burning. You want to be able to go up to them and be like, here, I'm going to sell you a brick for $20. And they're like, fuck, my hair is burning. I'll give you anything to put out this hair on fire. Now, brick's not great for putting out hair on fire, but when your hair's on fire, you'll use anything. And you can sell them a product that's not great, but their problem is so bad that they'll be happy to buy it. And so we'll skip that one because we want me to finish. That's me on LinkedIn. If you have questions or comments or things that you want, feel free to shoot me a note. They asked me to go fast, so I did. Thank you all for your time, and thanks for the organizers for doing great work.